Hello everyone, it's Silvia from Fairlight Tarot. Welcome to my channel. So as promised, today we're going to have a look at part 2 of my best pairings between tarot and oracle decks as voted by you on Instagram. Let's have a look. So first of all, we're going to take a look at the Neon Moon Tarot. So this tarot deck is by Pixel Occult. And it's the Neon Moon Tarot is a retro futuristic cyberpunk tarot deck featuring original artwork for all 78 cards, and you can find it at pixeloccult.com. Now the creator is the same creator as the Lost Hollow tarot deck, let's see, the Sinking Wasteland tarot deck, and also I think it's the Adorobiso Oracle deck as well. And there's also the Red Hand Lenormand, which I don't have, so I might be wrong. I hope I'm not. And the Lenormand is actually one that I'm looking into because it looks absolutely superb. So I really enjoy Pixel Occult's tarot decks because they remind me of that cyberpunk kind of idea that first started back in the 90s, that was combining this very specific particular style of clothing, end of life, let's say, and also neon punk was starting back then, this particular kind of artistic expression, and that we're actually seeing some kind of a revival of this kind of art style lately in not just in let's say in the tarot community, but in the artistic community in a broader sense. And I'm really happy about it because, and I'm saying it here for the first time, I'm actually planning to post a video in which I will show you all of these decks that I think they're modern decks, so they've been recently released, but they do have that kind of 90s style, 90s vibe to them, whether because they're referring back to cyberpunk or neopunk, or because there is that kind of cultural vibe that was so very typical of the 90s. And I'm very excited about that video. I'm just missing one deck that I ordered, and it needs to, come one of these days, hopefully soon. As soon as I receive that deck, then I will be able to film the video, which will be basically, I will ask myself and you whether you feel that, the 90s are indeed coming back or not. But let's have a look at the Neon Moon Tarot and the two best pairing oracles for this deck. Okay, so the first pairing is with the Flowers of the Night Oracle by Sherilyn Darcy, published by Oracle. This is a very versatile deck, I must say, the Oracle deck, because ever since I got it, I noticed that because of the background, but also the fact that there are some vibrant colors in the images, it actually pairs well with a lot of decks. And if we want to stay in the same kind of theme of dark or black backgrounds, I feel that these two pair up really well together. This oracle deck is also, I really like it because even though it's only limited to flowers that actually blossom at night, it is very interesting in the choice of the flowers that are depicted on the cards. And I do believe that because of this peculiar kind of choice, we also have a very distinct feel that comes with the keywords. So it's not your usual keywords that you see pretty much on, let's say, 90% of oracle decks. They do have some keywords that are reflected by this kind of oniric atmosphere that you can have at nighttime exclusively. I feel that it pairs really well with the Neon Moon. Now, the Neon Moon, as I was saying before, so it's this tarot deck that has this kind of cyberpunk, neon punk feel to it. It has a very limited but absolutely gorgeous color palette, as you can tell. So really dark or black background and this kind of fluorescent kind of pink or shocking pink. Now, I was talking about it with my husband the other day because I grew up in Italy, at least until I was 20, and we do not say fluoro colors, we say fluo, as in fluorescent colors. So I was Googling fluo colors, and I couldn't, in English, and I couldn't find anything. And my husband's like, try fluoro. And then obviously I realized that, that was the way to go. But it's funny because basically we're referring to the same thing. So it's this kind of shocking pink, that's how we call it, this kind of pink, we call it shocking pink in Italy. I don't know whether it makes sense or not, but it was so very typical. It actually started in the 80s, and with the floral orange and yellow especially, and green and pink. And then it went on, and I think it reached the apex in the 90s, in which everyone was, you know, giving in to this kind of punk, neo-punk or cyberpunk kind of style. And it is a very beautiful deck. I really like it. As you can tell, it does have illustrated kind of minors, which is always a must. Well, not a must, but at least a plus. Let's put it this way. And I really like the vibe that these two decks give out when paired up together. Because on the one hand, the Neo Moon Tarot tend to have this kind of darker, let's put it this way, approach to a reading. Not necessarily just as a shadow reading, but just in a general sense, because of the color palette, but also because of the images, which are, you know, they are quite intense and not necessarily conflictual or not necessarily confrontational, but at times they do bring in that kind of really, really powerful insight. Whereas the Oracle, I think it balances out the tarot deck in the sense that it gives that kind of, as I said before, oniric, so, you know, almost trance-like kind of atmosphere. So we can see here, I really appreciate the fact that it also gives you the English name of the plant that is actually depicted on the card, although we always do have an animal as well. In this case, it's a possum, I think. In Australia, to me, that would look like a possum. If it's not a possum, my apologies. But it's, so this plant here or flower is the devil's trumpet. So we've got death with the devil's trumpet and a possum, and it's very nightly, isn't it? It's very, it brings about that sense of a nighttime, of sleep time, and that kind of trance-like feel that is entered whenever we enter that kind of oniric atmosphere of the night. And I feel that it pairs up really well with the general sense and feel of the tarot deck. So the images obviously different, but they do kind of complement each other. Same goes with the color palette, as I was saying before. So for example, here we got depth with the woodland tobacco. And don't ask me what this animal is, because I honestly don't know. But we've got it between the 8 of arms and the 9 of wires. So as you can tell, the Neo Moon Tarot has a bit of a renaming for the suits. So obviously, as you can tell from the atmosphere, that the 8 of arms will show you is arms is the suit of swords. So we've got this sense of being imprisoned. This is one example of what I was talking about before. So it's a very intense kind of card. It's not necessarily confrontational, although it might be confrontational. But what I want to point out is that, yes, this person is obviously trapped and tied down, but they do have access to a knife and they can actually free themselves, which is the concept of the 8 of swords. Not in all of the decks, but in many decks you will notice that even if the person is, you know, tied down with ropes, the ropes are not really tight, so it is relatively easy to untangle themselves, which points out to the meaning of the card. Sometimes the worst cages are the ones of our own making. They are the cages that we make and will build up in around us. And we cannot escape them because we're the ones that make them up. So until we face that, until we confront ourselves with that concept, with the fact that we're the ones that actually put ourselves in a cage, we probably do not know how to find a way out of them. So we've got the death, and the death is between these two cards, and the Nine of Warriors is the Nine of Fire, so we're not traditionally seen as the Nine of Wands. And we see a beautiful card in which there's this resilient person that is, you know, facing the wind and facing this light, which is a threatening light, probably, we don't know, but it's a kind of a difficult future that they're looking at, and kind of something probably confrontational that they're going to face soon. And it points out to that resilience that tells you that you've gone through a lot already. You're probably even injured, and you're exhausted, and you're asking yourself, will I actually make it? But you still have something in front of you. You still have something to face. Although it is also a very, to me, it's also a very beautiful card in the sense that it expresses the resilience of someone who's, yes, has been through a lot, and they know that they have to face something even more, but they still keep on going. And so you reach that depth, and it shows you that perhaps if you consider your circumstances in depth, if you look inward, if you tap into your own intuition and you reach that kind of depth, you will see finally that this cage is not that tight around you, and you can actually free yourself, and then you can actually go through whatever it is that you're going to face. So I really love the way that the cards speak to each other. I love the way in which there is this kind of conversation going on. You know, we've got patience with Japanese wisteria or wisteria between the Tower and the Three of Arms, which is, as we said before, the Three of Swords. So I don't know if you get the same feeling that I do, but because of, you know, these two decks, the communication that you can get between these two decks, that is very conducive of some kind of a very introspective kind of work, and therefore perhaps also shadow work. And you do you, in the sense that obviously if this is the way the two decks speak to you, absolutely go for it. We need to do shadow work anyway, don't we? There is a time for everything, and whenever our you know, our inner person reaches out and tells us that there is something not working, we are in that cage, we need to confront it, and we need to understand how to get out of it. And perhaps these two decks together will give you the possibility to do just that. So one more, just to have a look. So we've got Readiness with the Nottingham Catchfly. That's a beautiful one. And that's between the Strength and the Chariot. How beautiful is that? It's absolutely the readiness that you need to be always ready to fight. You need to be always ready to have that kind of exchange of going back and forth of the expressed by the eight, so the major arcana of the Strength. And in order to do that, you need to always be ready. You need to be always aware that there is something that you will be called upon to do, a task that you will have to perform. And the Chariot is giving you that confidence. It's telling you that it's actually the obstacles that you need to face and that you're struggling to accomplish, they will you know, one day be accomplished, because the Chariot is the card that tells you that the obstacles in your life will be overcome. So these two, so this is the winning pair, let's say. So with the Neo Moon, as voted by Instagram, the Flowers of the Night was the best oracle to be paired with. But I have a second one that we're just going to have a look at to see the differences. So the next oracle deck that I'm pairing with the Neo Moon Tarot is the Earthly Souls and Spirit Moon Oracle by Terry Foss. And this is the mass market edition. It's published by US Games. I used to have the indie edition that was published by, I think, Make Playing Cards, if I'm not wrong. That was slightly smaller, I think, in size, but I'm not entirely sure. What so I rehomed that, and I actually was very happy to get the mass market edition, because I have a feeling that I watched many videos in which there was a comparison. I think Sharon from Trio of Witches Tarot made a comparison between the two versions, and that convinced me to get the mass market, because ironically, for once, I actually prefer the saturation of the colors in the mass market edition rather than the indie edition. And I was glad that I did that, because this means that the saturation of the color of this deck actually make it a really good pair with the Neo Moon Tarot, and I'll show you why. So basically, this is one example in which, again, we've got kind of a similar, or at least a bit of a resonance between the color palette of these two decks. So especially in the purple and the pink, you got the purple and the pink. It's not fluoro pink, but it is a kind of really saturated, brilliant kind of pink that is similar somehow to the fluoro pink of the tarot. But to me, the witchiness that is so exquisite from the Earthly Souls and Spirits oracle kind of ties up really well, I believe, with this sense of trance that is communicated by the Neo Moon Tarot we were talking about before. So the fact that there is this sense of entering the world of darkness, the world of this oniric kind of world, this dreamlike space in which, you know, you're not entirely sure whether what you're actually facing is really in front of you or is a product of your imagination, because there is a lot of probably surreal kind of images every now and then in the tarot. We don't have surreal images in the oracle deck, but there is the raven, the moon. There's a lot of pointing out to these kind of witchy but also trance-like as well images that we see. And I really do believe that, you know, because thanks to the keywords on the oracle, these two pair up quite well together. So in this case, we got focus between the Five of Zent. So Zent is the pentacle. It has been renamed like that, the pentacle suit, and the chariot. So we see this focus between the sense of loss and being left out in the cold that is expressed by the Five of Pentacles or the Five of Earth, and the reminder that we still have the possibility to overcome this kind of sense of loss and this temporary, this kind of loss, and also being banished is temporary, because we do see the movement. If we focus on that, if we refocus, probably retrench and reassess the situation, we will see that the chariot is expressing the possibility of moving away from this sense of loss. So starting again, overcoming those obstacles, but actually starting again, perhaps in a new adventure, perhaps with new resources at our disposal. So it's a very beautiful combination. I believe that it was voted second, perhaps because the Flowers of the Night had more of a resonance with the color palette because of the black background. But I personally actually prefer this because of the energy that these two decks seem to share. And it is very beautiful. Look at that, the Blossom card, in which, to me, that's already some kind of a Six of Cups. This is, it looks, or the Six of Pentacles, but it looks like there's that sense of remembering, the kind of nostalgia of an easier kind of past, the past where we could actually sleep at night. We were not plagued by fears, by anxiety, and we, you know, we remember that with fondness, and we kind of stuck. Sometimes we get kind of stuck. So we see that in the Six of Cups here. It's the way in which we remember sharing something with someone when we felt like we were safe and protected. And it's coming after the Eight of Pentacles, so Eight of Zent is the Eight of Pentacles, in which, in contrast, this figure is very much alone. So yes, they're working towards a goal, they're working to fulfill their own role in society, and also fulfill their projects, their financial projects, whatever that project is referred to, but they're on their own. So you see they are so focused into what they're doing that I believe that this person every now and then thinks back at the Six of Cups moment, at the moment in which they were sharing something, perhaps not working so much, but they were sharing something in a peaceful way with someone, and they felt that they were safe. So I really like the way that these two create this kind of bridge with the cards and within the cards and the conversation that comes after. And just another one. So we've got spontaneous between the Executive of Arms, which is the King, and the Nine, which is the Hermit on the majors. I love the fact that in the majors we have really big numbers. But obviously, you know, we got the name of the card as well. And I really like this too. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm always interested to know. These come from a voting that had taken place in my Instagram account. So I do tend to post a lot of pairings. And I always ask whomever feels like to comment and say and pick the best pairing. I always come out with something like 7 or 8 photos, and you know, the people say I like number 3 and number 5 or something like that. And so after that, you know, I get an idea of what you guys think the best one is. But obviously I have different subscribers here than I have followers in Instagram, so I would be very interested to know what you think about this pairing as well. So as I said, this is the Neon Moon Tarot, and this is the Earthly Souls and Spirit Moon Oracle by Terry Foss. So the second tarot deck we're going to have a look at pairings for today is my Jj7, as I call it. So the Jonasa Jaus Tarot, the 7th edition, which is the most recent one. I do believe that this is already out of print, unfortunately. Sorry about that. It is one of my, it's become quite quickly one of my favorite decks. And it was very important to me to find good pairings for this deck. And I'm very happy to say I don't always agree with the voting on Instagram, but in this case I wholeheartedly agree that these two are the best ones to pair with this deck. Let's have a look. So the first oracle I'm going to pair my Jj7 with is the Universal Folk Oracle by Anita Inverarity. This is also a mass market product by US Games. It feels like all of my decks lately by US Games or indie, like in this case, for example. So when I saw the Jj7, even before I actually got it, I knew immediately that I wanted to at least try and pair it with the Universal Folk. And the reason is simple. It's just these two literally are friends. If you put them down like that together, they don't even mind you anymore. They just start talking to each other. There's so much going on in this pair. Look at the directionality. Look at the fact that they're looking at each other. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's like, you know, the Two of Pentacles is literally looking at the person depicted in the direction card of the Oracle deck. They are looking at each other, and obviously there is also some kind of apprehension in the expression of this person, because obviously, you know, the person on the Oracle is holding a what is this, a bow and arrow. So it's not exactly an easy situation, but you will find this kind of interaction throughout the whole deck. So if I stay here the whole day and go through combos of these two, each and every card will have this kind of conversation. Each and every card will have this kind of really strong bridge that they create between the cards. There are echoes and resonances between the color palettes. The artwork is very similar as well. The Universal Folk Oracle is also very good because, well, personally, I like this style, which is obviously is very subjective. You may not like it. But what I also appreciate is the fact that there is one main keyword. So in this case, we'll have healing. But also you have 3 or 4 more like secondary kind of keywords. For example, cleanse, hydrate, dissolve, purity. So if the first keyword, the main keyword, doesn't necessarily resonate with you, having a look at the tarot cards on the side, perhaps the second or the third or whatever will. And I absolutely love that there is, it's like it's literally a match made in heaven. It's just that the cards literally do their thing. It's like they have their own life. They are completely autonomous from me. I'm just the reader, and I don't often say this, but when I read with these two decks together, I am just literally just the reader. I don't really even need to do a lot of interpretation, because these two decks will just point at things in a very clear way, very conducive way. There's not much need for intuitive kind of reading, because this is very clear. So we've got gratitude, for example, between the Wheel and the Two of Cups, I'd say. We've got curiosity between the Two of Swords and the Hierophant. We've got enchanted between this is the Page, Sota is the Page of Swords, and the Fool. Now the language, I've said this before because I saw a lot of people asking for it. This is not Spanish, but I think that wasn't a problem. This is not Portuguese either. It's actually Gallego. Gallego is I think it's a form of dialect, but it could also be a language. So the difference between dialect and language, I won't go into detail, but in Italy, for example, we have literally hundreds of dialects, but we only have a couple of languages. So Sardinian, for example, which is the language spoken in the island of Sardinia, is not a dialect, it's an actual language. And when you go to Spain, for example, Castellano is the national language, so Spanish. Catalan is the language, not a dialect, that is spoken in Catalonia, which is the region where Barcelona is. Then they have the País Vascos, and with their own language, I now think it's Euskadi or Euskera, sorry, apologies, I remember. But we also have Galicia, which is the region basically on the west, north and west part of Spain, where the capital is A Coruña. And you have a language over there which is called Gallego, and this is the language that you find here. Now all this, because I wanted to show you more cards, and it's just incredible the way. Do you feel this the same way I feel? It's absolutely incredible to me. They pair up so well together. Let me know, as I said, let me know in the comments below what you think about this combination. It's probably the most brilliant combo I've ever seen, honestly. And there wouldn't be any reason, because it's not the same author, it's not the same creator, but it is indeed it's a very, very strong bond. I have to apologize if you hear the magpies in the background. They're just trying to attack my cats, although my cats don't seem to be perturbed. So I'm keeping an eye on the situation. If I have to intervene, I will just stop recording. But yeah, they are really bullies. So we have magpies in Australia with really large black and white birds, and obviously they feel threatened, so they want to attack my cats. But I need to protect my cats because they're my cats and I love them. So this is again the combination between my Jj7 and the Universal Folk Oracle. Let's have a look at a different oracle deck to pair up with this tarot. So the second oracle deck that I'm going to pair with my Jj7 is the Magical Botanical Oracle. This is by Maxim Miller and Christopher Penczak, and it's published by Los Carabeo. This deck is absolutely gorgeous. The artwork of this oracle deck is unrivaled. It's just magnificent. I don't have any other words. There's a lot of symbology, as you can see here. There's the English name of the plant, so it's a botanical deck, as you can imagine. There's the depiction of the deck with a lot of symbols as well, and also there's the Latin name of the plant as well. The guidebook, just to give you a short look. It's very interesting. For each and every plant, you will have The English name, you have the Latin name, you have all the planets associated to this particular plant. In this case, I've chosen the Witch's Garden, which has all the plants associated to it and all the elements associated to it. And you've got a fair bit of information about the magical meaning, the plant, spirit, medicine, the divination meaning, and a bit of a reverse divination and a bit of an affirmation at the end. So I really enjoy this oracle. It's really beautiful. As I said, the artwork is fantastic. However, let's put it this way, it's not a straightforward kind of combo, in the sense that this has been chosen I believe purely out of aesthetics, in the sense that now you will see why, because these two decks pair up really well together. They look absolutely stunning together. There may be some resonance in the fact that the Jonasa Jaus Tarot also refers to botanical elements, whether they are flowers or plants. And by the way, so I checked on the Instagram account of the creator. There is one post in the past, sorry, didn't mean to. There is one post in the past where they posted the correspondences of the names of the majors in Gallego, the corresponding English name, and the plant depicted on the card. But that's as far as you can go when it comes to some kind of a guidebook for the deck. So you do have references to the plants, but only just the major, and there's just a reference to the actual plant. What I like is that one thing about this combo is you do feel that, you feel the strongly botanical kind of energy that comes out of the cards, both of the decks. And it's also very easy to tune into your intuitive kind of reading because of the fact that there's so much symbology going on in the oracle deck. Look at how similar the way in which flowers or even leaves are introduced or portrayed in both these decks. I like the fact that we got the moonflower from the oracle and the star. So it's like it's a natural progression from the star to the moon to the Ace of Wands. So this healing that takes place and the energy that you need to recharge after the healing under the light of the moon, and then you'll be ready to start a new adventure and start moving again and express the physicality of the Suit of Wands. There's a lot going on in both decks. I feel that so the aesthetics, I absolutely love them together. As you can see, the color palette is not the same, but because the Jonasa is relatively limited color palette, so it's not a full spectrum, you can actually have this kind of echoes in the color palette of the oracle, and the artwork is not that dissimilar. That's what I feel. But in any case, what I like is that there's always this kind of conversation. You can feel it. There's this energy that is shared together. There's this conversation also in the fact that we do have in both decks, close-ups of humans, basically of people. And you can definitely establish that, that conversation by noticing these kind of things. One day it would be fun to post a video in which I explain how I read intuitively, because I have this feeling that not everyone reads intuitively in the same way. Or what do you focus on when you read intuitively? What do you expect the cards to tell you? Where do you look for intuition? Where do you gather intuition? That could be an interesting kind of video, because then, it will give me the possibility of show you decks at the same time as to talk about the way I read tarot, which is mostly, very interesting to me. So I feel that these two, they pair up really well together aesthetically. They have the same kind of botanical energy. Because the oracle deck doesn't have keywords, that's the, let's say, a bit of a negative side to it. There might not be a straightforward interpretation. I look at this card and I know that it's a wormtail simply because I read the English title and I think about the wormtail. Artemisia absinthium, for example, tells me a bit more about the plant, and I look at the Tower card and the Emperor card on the side, and I can come up with this intuitive idea that it's telling me that there is a bit of a disruption going on, there is this bit of uncertainty, and also the falling down of this tower. I need to make sure, obviously, that the roots of this tower, so the fundament of this tower, are very solid and with a certain order. So the order is brought about the Emperor, and it's the construction of the order upon the chaos, the re-establishing of the order after the chaos. So it is, as you can see, there is a bit of a conversation going on between the cards. If I knew the Oracle deck better, I reckon there would be even more so. Or if you knew about Botanical. If you know your Botanicals, then in this case, it's not a problem at all. You can definitely use also the symbology on the card as well to, you know, do these kind of readings. But for now, until I'll be mastering this Oracle, I just really like to look at this pairing because it is conducive of meditation as well, for example. So this is my Jj7, and I paired it up with the Universal Folk Oracle and the Magical Botanical Oracle. So now we're going to have a look at pairings, that one for the Spacious Tarot. And the first oracle I'm going to pair the Spacious Tarot with is the Sea Soul Journeys Oracle cards by Pippa Best. I really love this oracle. I live by the ocean, so obviously it's the ocean theme oracles are some of my favorites, but it's not easy, I think, to actually publish a really a nice, like a beautiful and also a powerful oracle deck with you know, photography from the ocean. Because I remember actually watching a video on YouTube about someone talking about this deck and saying, you know, it's not that difficult if you live by the ocean, or you can get to the ocean and you have a good camera and you have a good eye for photos. You can take photos and then you can just slap a couple of keywords at the bottom and like a sentence. And at the beginning, I thought that it actually makes sense in the sense that I do live by the ocean. I do have a good camera, and you know, I could do that. I talked myself into it. Yeah, I could do that, absolutely. And then I actually saw people using this deck, and I saw how very powerful it was, and I understood that it's not always just about the aesthetics. It's not always just about the photography. It's not just a pretty photo. Of course, if you live by the ocean and you have a zoom lens, you can take a photo of a close-up of a wave like that. Fair enough. But what I mean is that there's something else that goes into making these decks, and you have to find the right keyword. And I think that present is absolutely poignant to this photo, because if you're a surfer, you would know you have to be absolutely present on every single nanosecond of what you're doing in the ocean, because especially these kind of waves, you know, they can be the end of you. So present is a good word. May you sense each shiver of the surf. So you have to be present to yourself. You have to be switched on constantly. Or for example, belonging. I really love this photo because, I don't know if you can tell, let me see if I can bring that up. So these are turtles, and they just hatched over here. They hatched, and then they have to make their way to the sea. And I can assure you, I've actually seen it happening in Japan. It's not that easy. Many actually perish on their journey onto the ocean. Here it looks like it's super easy because it's just over there, but there's a lot of predators, you know, that obviously can intervene. So this sense of belonging to the sea, may you welcome yourself home. It's like going home, and it's fantastic. And I really do appreciate the work that has been done behind this deck. And the fact that I found, I believe, a really good pairing with the Spacious Tarot. The Spacious Tarot, I'm pretty sure it doesn't need any kind of introduction, but it's a deck that is completely devoid of human beings. There's probably a couple of animals, but only just. And it's based on the natural world, and so therefore you can definitely feel this kind of symmetry with the natural world of the tarot deck and the natural world depicted on the oracle deck. The keywords on the oracle deck are very, very, they're excellent in being conducive and intuitive in the reading that you establish with the cards. So even this one, I know that as a keyword love, I think that probably 99.99% of oracle decks that use keywords will have the word love. Sooner or later you will encounter that. But the very specific way in which love is associated with this sunset or sunrise kind of photo, may you dive deep into your passions. You are in the ocean or the sea in this photo. You cannot, this is not a close-up with a zoom lens, okay? You're not on the coastline, you're in the water. And to me, that's, you know, it tells you how much you have to be invested in love. May you dive deep. So you have to dive deep into it. And, you know, it talks about diving deep into the sea of your passions. And that is reflected in the Elder of Cups. Cups is the suit of passions, is the suit of emotions and feelings. And it also tells you that you have to dive deep into them. So I really like the way in which these two decks establish this kind of conversation when you use them paired up together. So this was the first, let's say, winner of this, the pairing with the Spacious Tarot. But we have another one that I wanted to show you. Let's have a look. So the second oracle that I wanted to show you to pair up with the Spacious Tarot is the Soul Trees Ascension deck by Alison Williams Yee. This deck is absolutely amazing. It's a beautiful deck. There's by the same creator in their website. There's another couple of oracle decks. I think one of them is called the Seeds Oracle, and another one is still called the Soul Trees, but not the Ascension version. The reason why I prefer this one to pair up with the Spacious Tarot is because they do share a more similar kind of color palette. And personally, I love the blue tones. So blue is, in its various shades, is my favorite color, particularly teal kind of blue. And we have a lot of cards that share that kind of color scheme or color gamut in both decks. The two also share a very similar kind of energy, I can tell you that. There is a... the Soul Trees Ascension deck is very powerful. It wouldn't look like it, probably because the general feel to it is very gentle in a way, but it is very powerful because of the keywords. I can assure you 100% this deck called me off a couple of times, in which I thought, okay, let's get the message from this deck, and I was not necessarily distracted, but there you go, thank you. So I wasn't necessarily grounded, and this deck can actually feel that and tell you and call you up on that and tell you, no, you need to be grounded, you actually need to be listening to what I'm saying to you, because otherwise there's no point in doing this exercise now, is there? This deck will definitely talk to you. It will tell you whatever you need to hear, even if you don't want to hear it necessarily. And I really, really enjoy pairing these two together. The Soul Trees Ascension deck also doesn't have any humans. It also doesn't have any other, any animals. It does only have trees, as you can imagine. But because the art style is this combination of, it's basically watercolors, you will feel that there is no emptiness related to these cards. So even something like this, for example, is absolutely superb. You can tell the circular form of the shadow on the oracle deck that is echoed in the circular form of the planet Earth. On the Hanged One from the Spacious Tarot. It's coincidences like these that actually make you a better reader. Is when you start noticing similar shapes, for example, similarities in colors. If there were people, for example, we've seen it in the Jj7 and the Universal Folk Oracle, there were directionality to be read in the cards and to be found in how the characters look outside of the frame. They may be pointing outside of the frame. So these kind of things will make you a better reader. These kind of things will also, you will enjoy finding them, I can assure you, because it becomes something very, very enjoyable to read when you know how to make these connections. But they will also improve your own knowledge. I love that, the fact that we have 3 trunks in all of these 3 cards. So I really enjoy pairing these 2 together. And generally speaking, I feel that the Spacious Tarot is one of those decks that you can use whenever you feel like you have to take a step back from how crowded the world is sometimes. And pairing it up with a Soul Trees Ascension deck is really helping in that kind of, you know, get into a safer kind of place. So you are in a safe place and you know that you can look and focus on the messages given to you by the Soul Trees Oracle because you are in a safe place. So these 2 are really beautiful together. So just remember, this is the Spacious Tarot deck, and I've been pairing it with this one, which is the Soul Trees Ascension deck, and the Sea Soul Journeys Oracle cards. Okay, so last but not least, this is actually a new kind of combo. New because I have only just received this week these 3 decks. Well, this one comes from Italy. This one comes from I think Ibiza in Spain, and this one was actually I bought it in a secondhand in a Facebook group from Australia. So this has been sourced locally, even though Heidi Phelps is not Australian. I cannot tell you how much I'm in love with this deck. So this deck, I don't know, it's black on black and it's got a bit of foil, so you can probably tell. I'll do like this, I don't know, yep, you can focus. So it's called Le Essenziali, so that's Italian, it means the essentials, by Stefania Zani. Stefania is a wonderful, she's not a tarot reader, she reads energies. She has an Instagram account in Italian, unfortunately. And but I believe that you can probably switch on subtitles in English to her videos. I'm not sure, so sorry about that. I'm not entirely sure. I obviously, being Italian, I understand her. So every day she reads out of this deck, which she helped. She's not a creator in the sense of the illustrator, but she helped create the guidebook. And it's referred to the essential oils, and the energies refer to the essential oils. This deck is, the production value of this deck is out of this world, is one of the most beautiful art paper kind of quality that I've ever seen. It's so the artist is not Stefania. Apologies, I actually don't know. I know the Instagram account, but I don't know the name of the person, and it doesn't even say. So there you go. Sorry about that. Filippo Manassero. So it's so Stefania is the one that created the book and the concept behind the cards, and Filippo is the artist. As you can notice, there's a lot of echoes of the Japanese kind of style wood block printing. Sorry. And there's also the sigil, a Japanese sigil on the cards. Italians, let me tell you, we love Japan, so it doesn't surprise me at all that there is this kind of, the artist adopted this kind of style We love Japan. And Japanese style and Japanese everything. So these cards obviously are in Italian, so you'll have here the name of the current name, the vulgar. It's called vulgar, but it's not in the sense that it's vulgar, but it's the common name, let's say, of the plant. You have the Latin name of it, you have the refiguration of the plant, and a keyword. And the keywords are spot on all the time, and it's just fantastic to read with this deck. But not just that. So if you have Google Lens, if you're not, you know, pushed away by the fact that this is an Italian deck, if you don't speak Italian and you're not concerned about using Google Translate, this book, it's like a university course on energies related to plants and essential oils. I kid you not, it's just the most informative booklet I've ever seen. And it doesn't look like much in the sense that, yes, it's very elegant and very beautiful, but there's not a lot written. And yet there is obviously the, note in Italian in this case is the basic smell group of this essential oil. So it refers to the heart. It also gives you an indication of the zodiac sign, Virgo in this case. Characteristic is yang, so it also gives you the female or male energy. The chakra that is related to this essential oil, so chakra anahata, which is obviously the heart chakra, chakra number 4. It refers back to Mercury as a planet, and it gives you the keywords, which is objectivity. All right, then it talks about the properties of the essential oil. Cardamom gives you the possibility to find back that kind of sense of calm and objectivity in every kind of situation, even those of high, where the stakes are really high, and it helps you elaborate the situation when they are dysfunctional, so they're not going in the direction that they're supposed to go. So it tells you a little bit of the background behind the choice of the keywords and association with the plant. And then it gives a bit of the esoteric interpretation of this specific essential oil. And it tells you that cardamom is indicating the bottled up, this kind of bottled up anger that has not been resolved. So it's really always boiling in the background. And it's bringing with itself a really strong criticism towards the others. And there's a really strong sense of victimism as well. As you can tell, it doesn't pull any punches. It's a very direct kind of deck, and I really love it for it. So what I did was I actually tried and found a way to use it in a reading. Although, let me tell you, you can use it by itself. And I feel that these two tarot decks, this is just majors, but the black violet, they really pair up well together. But let me show you how. Okay, so what have we got here? For example, we've got the Roman chamomile with forgiveness between the Seven of Swords and the Devil card. So this is obviously the black violet deck. This is the essential oil deck, and this is the Banksy majors. This is beautiful to me because forgiveness has to come after that sense of having done something not entirely moral, having found ourselves in a situation in which we had to perhaps do something sneaky, and because we know the difference between right and wrong in our conscience, we actually kind of feel like we've done something wrong, even though we kind of had to. This is one of the interpretations that I give to the Seven of Swords. But we need to forgive ourselves for that. We need to forgive us, because the way in which we're not forgiving us will necessarily increase the sense of shame that is brought about the Devil card. So that kind of distraction, you cannot focus on something that you're supposed to focus on something that you're supposed to be doing, because you still carry the sense of shame given by having found yourself in a situation in which you had to do something not necessarily corresponding to your moral code. So this is the way I use the decks. They have different heights, so sometimes I try to level them out together. It's mainly because obviously we've got only 22 cards on the Banksy, but It is a very beautiful, very strong and powerful pairing. So, for example, Arbor Vitae, between that says opening up to love, with the Nine of Pentacles and Temperance. It's such a beautiful message. I really feel like there's not just this kind of really strong echoes that you know, you can tell with the aesthetic. So you've got this basic color palette on the oracle card. You've got only the black and white of the black violet tarot, and you have also kind of sort of limited color palette on the Banksy deck, and it works really well. There's a very peaceful but very clear conversation going on, I believe, between these decks. I really, really like when they talk together like that. I can tell you that after reading for over 35 years, there's a few things that obviously become my favorite things to do. Sorry, this one is actually an introduction card. So there's a few things that I really like and I look forward to, or I actually look for when I need to decide whether to get a deck or not. And in many, many cases, I'm not sorry to say that I will buy decks because they complement each other. I will buy decks because I think that they can actually pair really well together. And then I try the pairing, and if it doesn't work, and I don't find any other way to use that particular deck, then I'm not really worried or concerned about rehoming this, because as I said many times before, I really believe that, I love that this Steve Jobs as an emperor. I really love the fact that we can connect so much with the deck that when we don't, there will be someone else that will connect to the deck. And so I'm not feeling bad about having, it's not a Seven of Swords situation for me, having to rehome a deck. You know what I mean? I do it because I know that someone else is going to give them the attention that they deserve when I fail to provide it to the deck. But these three are going nowhere. I really love them. In particular, let me tell you, this deck is absolutely superb. I'm actually reading the guidebook as, you know, some kind of a reading for reading's sake, because it's just so very beautiful. And it talks about these energies, and these energies are very, very powerful. So we've got, for example, as one last pair, we got Sandalwood, with the Divine between the Four of Cups and the Tower. It's such a strong, really strong message. You know, get in touch with yourself, because right now you feel like everything is not, there's nothing new under the sun. You've tried everything. You're kind of restless but also bored, and whatever is on offer to you, you're not even reaching out for it because you feel like it's not going to be the thing that you need. Connect. The message coming out of the oracle deck is to connect to the divine. Have that kind of strength of taking one step out of your comfort zone and out of your stillness and the sense of being stuck and not really knowing where to look for. So connect to the divine, because you need to start anew. This situation cannot go on forever. You need to probably, you know, tear it down, and maintaining that connection to the divine, actually start again. It is a beautiful, beautiful message, and every single one of these cards will give you a very deep, strong and powerful message. Okay, so thank you so much for staying with me till the end of this video. This was the part 2 of the best of tarot and oracle pairings. More to come. Have a great day.